Welcome to part 3 of the Brother PE570 embroidery machine, where we're going to be troubleshooting common issues like the needle breaking, tension issues, and bobbin winding. I'll show you how to easily and quickly fix all of these. So let's jump right in. In this first example, it's a very good example of a tension issue. So my top thread is pink and my bobbin thread is white. And you'll see right here, the white is coming up. So the tension is too tight on the top. So the bottom tension is looser, and that's why it's bringing that bobbin thread up to the top. So let's take a closer look at what could be happening up top that could be causing that problem. In this example here, I have a pretty small spool of thread, this embroidery thread. You can see how it kind of tapers off to the end, so it ends up pretty small over there. This is the smallest end cap that comes with this machine. So you might think, oh, that's the one that goes with it. It kind of matches down here. It kind of matches the width down here. We really want to match the width here. So what happened in this case is the thread, let me see if I can show you here. The thread got caught behind the spool pin, in between the spool pin and the spool. You see there? It got caught right in there. And that's going to mess up your tension because it's not going to pull. The other thing it did is it wrapped around this handle here. So here's a couple of things you want to watch for as you're getting your embroidery thread set up. You want to make sure that it looks like it's coming straight from the spool to the first point here. This is not going to cut it. So that is going to cause issues, and then it'll mess up your pattern. So what you want to do is use this one for any spool that looks like this. The way this works, first we'll have to untangle this, get that out of the way. I like to put this on the end like that, and then bring the thread up all the way to the top, and then push them both down together. Now you can see the thread can come off straight off of this without any issue, without it getting caught anywhere. So for smaller embroidery spools like this that you'll probably have if you're going to switch a lot of colors, you probably won't have a real huge one up here. When you're doing little detailed colors, watch for that end there and make sure you don't lose it. It's very easy to lose because it's so small. Then you can see as I come along here, it's going to come straight off just like that. Once it starts embroidering, it can go straight to this first point here. Another very common issue with an embroidery machine of the needle breaking, the thread breaking, or the bobbin thread coming up where you can see the bobbin thread on the top of the fabric is actually a tension issue. I see this a lot. There's a tension disc right in here, and this is your tension dial. If your bobbin thread is coming up and your tension looks too tight on the top, you can loosen this here by moving this direction so that the tension is looser. See how in this black area, that's like the most common places you want your tension to be. But if things like that are happening, your needle is breaking or the thread is breaking or something weird, and you move this down and nothing changes, it could be an issue right in here. So let me zoom in so you can see what this looks like. Right there, you can see it moving. See that? What I'm doing with my other hand is I'm raising and lowering the presser foot. So that's the presser foot up, and then the thread is going to go right into that groove. Then when you lower the presser foot, the tension is engaged. See that? It engages whatever this is set to. There can very, very easily get lint in there. You know, the thread's running through here quite fast, and you're going through thread really fast on an embroidery machine. If there's any thread stuck in there, a broken thread could get stuck in there, or any lint or anything, that could also cause a problem with the tension not being right. It'll stay tight. So what I like to do is lift the foot up. That's the foot all the way up. You zoom back out here and show you. Canned air or compressed air, you use the tiny little, the little detailed edge that comes with it, and you spray that out. And then I would lower the foot and spray it out again, raise the foot, spray it out again. See if there's anything stuck in there. With new machines, that usually isn't a problem, but if you bought a used machine or you've been sewing for a long time, once a year you'll need to take it in to get it serviced, get it cleaned and oiled. They'll clean that out for you, but if this happens before then, That is another very common culprit and a very easy fix if you're having tension issues. Now let's check out the bobbin and make sure that we're winding our bobbin correctly. Let me show you the difference between a poorly wound bobbin and a perfectly wound bobbin. I'm going to poke the edge here so you can see with the scissors. Do you see how it gives? It's spongy, it's pushing in. And this side, no matter how hard I push it, it's not moving. This is a correctly wound bobbin, and it can be a very simple issue to resolve. I can feel it more than you can see it, and you can barely see that there's any issue with this one. This one looks pretty good, but see that there's little clues here. See how there's little ripples? Every once in a while, a thread looks like it's sticking out. That means this wasn't wound tight enough. And once it gets into the machine, it's not even so much that it's wound badly. It looks pretty good, but you can see the dents that it has in it. Those subtle little things, they don't look like they're that big of a deal, but once this machine gets going full speed, it can actually pull, and the thread can, if this is all loose, the thread can pull and actually get pulled into the center, and then it gets stuck. Anytime the thread gets stuck, you're going to have a tension issue. So if you have any breakage, any problems with it looking like the tension is off from the upper to the bottom, this could be another issue. This one doesn't look real bad. I'm going to show you another one that was a lot worse than this one, so you can really see the difference of how to wind the bobbin. And let me show you an easy way to fix that as well. So here's an example of a bobbin that was not wound very well. You can see the little lumps. See how it doesn't look like a straight flat column, and there's some lumps. And I can take my scissors here and push on it, and you can see that it's not wound tight. See how much play there is in there? That's bad. That means in here, either it wasn't hooked around that properly, this tension disc to keep the thread tight, or the thread was falling off the spool. See that? So this will be a problem. When I load this into the machine and I start embroidery and it starts going at that very fast speed, very, very good chance that the thread is going to get caught on itself. When it's loose like this, the top thread can actually get caught underneath like that, and it'll pull, and it'll be too tight, too much tension. And one thing I've noticed is with this style, if I can show you here, the thread comes off this very easily. See how it's just kind of falling off? That can be an issue with getting your bobbin wound really tight. So what I like to do, see how I can't even wrap it around, it's just falling right off. So what I like to do is use these little netting, these little mesh webs, I would call them, and I like to put it over that and have the thread coming out so that it holds it a little tighter to the spool and keeps my tension correct. These little netting things are usually pretty big, so I cut them down so that they fit just over the spool like that. I don't want it too much farther. And then I'm going to have the thread coming out this way. So I just pull the thread through like that and then load this little mesh on here and pull it. See, now it's going to come out. You can see that. Now it's going to come out, and see how it's holding it tighter like that. Then I'm going to load it onto my spool pin here, and then get my little topper, make sure it's real tight against there. Now this isn't going to move. Okay, so now we can thread it through. Here's our guide. The dotted line is the guide for the bobbin winding, and the straight line is the guide for the machine thread top. So we can see here, let me get it zoomed in here. So you can see the guide there. So let's go ahead and follow it. We're going to do, and I like to hold like this, like almost like floss. We're going to click under there. You can hear it kind of snap in. We're going to bring it around here. And then this one, you're going to go, that's number 2. And then number 3 is right here. So I'm going to bring it this way, bring it around, and then do like a U-turn around that. And that's our little tension guide. And it should feel pretty tight there. It shouldn't feel loose like it's going to fall out. Like you can see, I can let go of it and it's going to stay in there. That means you're in there. You're in the little tension disc, and then it's going to wind your bobbin correctly. Now for the bobbin, the owner's manual actually says to do it differently, And I do believe it's wrong. The one thing I've seen that I didn't like with the written instructions for this machine is it said to just wrap it around the bobbin. I never do that. You never get a good wind on your bobbin that way. The best way to wind your bobbin is to get your thread from the center middle of your bobbin up through that hole there. We're going to go up through and pull it through. Then while you're holding the thread and you're holding the bobbin, you're going to stick it onto here, push it all the way down, and then to activate it, see I'm still holding the thread, and then to activate it, you click it over, and you'll notice your button here turns orange. That means it's ready to go, but it's only going to spin here. It's not going to, the needle, nothing down there is going to move. So then I hold it up and out, and I wind maybe 3 or 4 seconds. And with my other hand, I make sure this thread is up so that it's locking this into place right there. So let me show you how I do that. I start it, hold this up, and then pull this up like that. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now I'm going to pull this thread tight and cut as close to the bobbin as I can. This is going to hold that loose end in place as tight as possible so that when I start sewing and I get almost to the end of this bobbin, it's still held tight. If it's too loose, it could mess up your embroidery pattern because underneath it's actually coming off the bobbin. It'll come out of all the tension discs and everything, and you'll get too loose of a stitch. So this is a really good way to keep it really tight. And then I'm just going to use the orange button to fill this bobbin the rest of the way. Now when it's done, you'll see that stops, but the machine didn't stop. So you have to stop it yourself. So you have to stand here and watch. You can't just let it go and think it'll stop on its own. It stops winding, but the motor is still going. And because I let it run a little bit, see how it pulled this off? We had a little issue going on here. So make sure you're watching this and you'll see it start to stagger. As soon as it starts to stagger, stop it. And so we can see that's a beautiful, that is the way you want your bobbin to be threaded. And if I touch it with the scissor edge, you can see it is so tight. See how it's not bouncy or springy at all? It's really tight. That is a perfectly wound bobbin. And all I did was put the netting on the spool, and that's what solved the problem. It wasn't a problem here, it was a problem there.